Welcome to Roundhouse Roulette, a Walker, Texas Ranger podcast. Well, thanks for joining us as we recap and review one of the 200 existing Walker, Texas Ranger episodes, randomly selected by Roundhouse Roulette. I'm Evan Dalton, here with my brother Adam.
What's going on?
And our podcast's very own John McClane, Mr. Bob Leahy.
Hey there, fellas.
Yippee-ki-yay, right?
Yeah, yippee-ki-yay.
Well, yeah, we'd love to thank you all for joining us as we discuss the lifestyles of the rich and famous. Of course, that means today we'll be recapping and reviewing Season 6, Episode 15, Money Talks, where Walker goes full-on die-hard to save a bunch of rich people. But before we grab our golf clubs and hit those links, join us as we pull up a seat at CD's Bar and Grill. Well, fancy meeting you blokes here.
I'll say, I'm excited to be back at CD's, especially for a CD-centric episode.
Yeah, it is quite CD heavy.
Oh, God.
Oh, what? No, I know what he wants. Yeah, now we're doing video.
Okay, we got there. We got there. My headphones are plugged into the preamp, which is on the floor. It's all a mess.
Now you sound like an audio guy, Evan.
I spent some time this week soldering small electrical components onto a circuit board of a small microcomputer.
For a C4 exploding device, or for
no, for recording nocturnal flight calls of birds. Spoiler alert: it didn't go great. I finally got the soldering right, but then the microphone crapped out. So when my microphone here started crapping out, I'm like, no.
Oh, are you sure you didn't accidentally solder it to your telephone box?
I think after doing the soldering, I'm just shocking everything and sending everything into Oblivion, which is tonight's selection.
From CD, it's what he's got on tap, an Oblivion New England IPA.
Yeah, this puppy's got Citra, Galaxy, and Bergamot hops, so look out. Crafted and brewed in Plymouth, Massachusetts by the Mayflower Brewing Company.
I think we got to crack these puppies.
Oh, some good Foley out there.
Interesting can, Oblivion, Mayflower.
It smells fruity. It's delicious.
It's good. Well-balanced IPA, and
you get into trouble with that one.
Awesome. Well, this is going to serve us well, this Oblivion. Well, let's get into what's been going on here. Evan, our parents were on a vacation in Europe, and they went to all these crazy places, right?
Yeah.
They're on all these random tours. They're retired. Shout out to Craig and Verna Dalton. Bob probably would have started this podcast, without me or you, Evan. But, we are 2/3 of the podcast, so they are really responsible for it. But, Dad's recently retired, and our mom is, she's still working, but they're going on vacations. They're out in Europe, and they're going on all these tours. They were in Budapest, and they're touring this bridge, and their tour guide is just telling them they had a contest to name this bridge that you're standing on. People voted for it to be named the Chuck Norris Bridge. They're going out of Europe to get away from us talking about Walker, Texas Ranger, and they can't avoid it.
I remember this when it happened. It was a while ago, but they were...
I think we talked about it on the early version of our podcast, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you pull up the Wikipedia page, Evan, they talk about it.
The bridge costs 63 billion forints. Seems like a lot of forints.
It doesn't look that impressive, this bridge. It kind of looks like the bridge in Boston, right? A little bit.
It's like a modern suspension bridge.
Read us the part about Chuck Norris on the Wikipedia page down at the bottom.
All right. So the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Transport of Hungary organized a public vote online to solicit possible names for the new bridge. The 3 names with the most votes, as well as suggestions from local governments, were to be reviewed by a government committee before a final name was chosen. The top candidate, according to the online poll, was the Chuck Norris HID, named for American action star Chuck Norris. And then in 2006, Stephen Colbert discussed the story on his comedy program, instructing his viewers to visit the polling website and vote for him instead of Norris.
That's a bold move by Colbert.
I
wouldn't
know.
mess around with that.
He's probably still looking over his shoulder about that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
that was peak Stephen Colbert too, 2006, right?
Yeah. But I guess they didn't name it after any of them. And, I think then there was the joke going online. I mean, you can't name it after Chuck Norris because nobody can cross Chuck Norris.
Right.
So,
Why have a naming thing if you're not going to name it? It's like Bodie McBoatface,
yeah, you got to live or die by the contest. But regardless, our condolences to our parents for having to, they tried to get away from us talking about Walker, Texas Ranger, and Chuck Norris. They're on vacation in Europe. And, they're still being confronted by Chuck Norris's awesomeness. Speaking of which, friend of show, Jeffrey Hartman hit me on Instagram. And then immediately, Evan, you texted me and Bob about this. The reboot of Walker, Texas Ranger for the CW, known as Walker, will not be having another season. They're ending it with this 4th season. And
In other words, it was canceled.
I'm trying to be diplomatic here, Bob. Okay?
It was canceled. What I find more surprising than the fact that it was canceled is that it was almost to the 5th season.
It's pretty crazy. Well, here's the crazy thing, though. Okay, now that it's done, we started this podcast before the reboot, and well, I guess once a podcast comes out after they're done, then we'll be going longer. But we will be.
Is that surprising?
No, I mean, we're in this for the long haul, and this just kind of proves it here that we outlasted the reboot, and the reboot had nothing on the 9 seasons of the original series. It's going to be hard to do that for any TV show, I guess,
Indeed. I guess in this post, what are we looking at?
Oh, yeah. So this is Jared Padalecki shared his Walker hat, and it looks like a coaster with the Walker logo or something.
Now, are we to believe this is like a set from the show?
Yeah, maybe he rented out a hotel room for him and his Walker hat for one last time,
I mean, is that his actual hat? Because it doesn't look very well worn.
Crazily enough, the guest star of this episode of Walker, Texas Ranger Money Talks that we are about to talk about stars Mitch Peleggi.
I'm glad
X-Files.
you guys picked up on this because
Immediately.
And he stars as Walker's father in the reboot.
Oh, that's right. We
Yep.
talked about that.
Yep.
Yeah. So, coincidence? I don't know. Also, last podcast, Bob went back in time, accidentally killed Chuck Norris, went back in time again, reversed it, and was going to do something about the reboot. This might have been what you did.
I can't say. Can't say.
what I will say, though, the last line of his Instagram post is, I will forever smile on the years I got to spend with the cast. Now, is that the cast of the TV show or is it our podcast? We'll never know.
Yeah, I don't know what Bob did. We better move on. I don't want him going back in time again.
I'm happy to move on from that.
Well, friend of podcast and guest, Sam Williamson, he's doing a documentary about another guest of our podcast, director Michael Priest, who directed like over 70 episodes of Walker. He has a trailer out for his documentary on Michael Priest. I thought we'd roll the trailer here. I'm going to share a screen.
I am 87 years old and I've worked in movies and television most of my life. Today, I'm going to share a few stories.
So what do you want to do next?
Well, I'd like to just sit here and talk to you. As Robert Altman said, the hardest part of directing is that when you get there in the morning and there's 60 people standing there wondering, what do we do first? And if you don't know, you're in trouble. Always my advice, look important. Just go over there and you look good. I was fortunate enough to work with some of the biggest stars on the planet. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Duvall, Chuck Norris, Steve McQueen. I have a million Marlon Brando stories. A costume lady was doing a wardrobe test with Brando, and Brando said to her, kind of kiddingly, I always sleep with my leading lady. It's part of the deal. And she said, well, this will be one exception.
Do you miss being on set?
Very much. Every day of my life, I think about a guy named Gary Lockwood, an actor. He said, they asked him, does he miss being late? He said, I miss having a burrito for breakfast every morning. And I miss saying action and cut and print. Cut and print.
We'll definitely share a link to that trailer up on our episode page here. So shout out to Sam Williamson. Congrats on getting that together. And Michael Priest. Amazing life and career for sure.
Dare we say, friend of the pod.
Friends of the pod.
Right.
So I'm sure there's going to be quite some tales in that documentary.
Some tantalizing nuggets for sure.
Exactly. Well, not to be outdone, the trailer for Chuck Norris's one of his new movies, not the one with Vanilla Ice.
Was that a video game or a movie?
The one with Vanilla Ice?
Yeah.
Dude, it's a movie, a live action movie where Chuck Norris trains Vanilla Ice. So that's coming out this year too, supposedly. But this is another one more action style called Agent Recon. And some of the stills of Chuck in his fatigues for this look pretty badass. And his son, Dakota, I guess, choreographed a lot of the action scenes. So, yeah, let's watch the trailer for this one. And kind of a different trailer. This is more of a, like an action movie trailer as opposed to doc trailer. Here we go.
Team Cobra has gone down. Checking for survivors. Reinforcements are on their way.
All right, listen up. The infecteds are ruthless, strong, and they're smart. We were on a recon mission, killing infecteds. When we got redirected here, via an emergency. I want a ready op, ASAP.
We thought you could use the help.
Alistair?
Yes, Jim. This nearby base was running tests.
Where's Faction 13 now?
Captain Rupert hasn't responded in a week.
Is he a robot in this?
Yes.
It looks like it, yeah.
I will protect my team.
Then let's get started.
Oh, dude.
We need a team that knows how to work together.
There. That's the plan.
Hit him!
Go, Jim. I got this.
What was that?
Okay.
Hopefully it'll be a while before we get to that one.
It almost does look like a video game kind of thing, right?
For sure.
Glad to see Chuck Norris back in action. Agent Recon. That's enough of the news here. Why don't we move into the old mailbag? In fact, we had a comment on our website from frequent troll and webmaster of our fan page, BJ69, who we talked about on the last podcast. He created a fan page for us, which I put a link to up on our last episode page. But he hit us up, Evan. What did he say?
All right. So BJ69 says, I am not AI, period. Which isn't that the first thing AI would say?
That's exactly what AI would say.
All right. Okay. So he said, I am not AI. I am 100% all man. And those two words are capitalized. And my fan site is the best thing to come online since Pornhub. I'll do some more work on it later. I want to say that I'm watching my first episode of the Walker reboot, and it is horrible. Walker has 2 kids, WTF, and why do they call him Cordy? What a ridiculous name. Have these guys ever even seen Walker, Texas Ranger? To answer that question, no.
Yeah, and he wrote back, P.S., thanks for the 69, because the last episode was the 69th episode. Well, look, BJ69, your fan site. We critiqued it. It's like a free website hosting site, which is fine, but we think you can do better. And the gold standard for you to check out is chucknorris.com. I'm going to pull this up here, guys. Share screen.
Let me take a look.
Yeah. Just click on chucknorris.com. It is the best website ever. It's the best landing page of a website I've ever seen in my life, chucknorris.com.
Helicopters.
Yeah, it goes through it like his spinning kick, and then he goes into the badge of Walker, and then he goes into him about helicopters, and it just zooms in. It's the best.
Wait. I don't think it's showing up properly in my my browser here. Mine's just a still.
Are you kidding me?
What's wrong with their computer tonight?
Hold on, I got the other browser going.
Dude, this landing page has a wow factor, and BJ69, this is the kind of wow.
Oh yeah. I just had to use it in the browser. Oh my god.
It's just so over the top.
I'm sick, guys.
It is. It's motion sickness from the landing page
Helicopter.
at chucknorris.com.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, if you load it on Safari, it just sticks in the first image. It doesn't even do it.
Oh, come on now.
Junk Safari.
Yeah.
That's a piece of
No,
junk.
that's why people use Chrome, even though they take all our data.
I know, exactly.
BJ69, we're throwing the gauntlet down. You got to get us at least, 50% of what the chucknorris.com landing page is, all right? And I don't care if you have to you screenshot that website and put it on our fan site. Whatever you need to do, make it happen. This is our reputation that you're putting out there.
Wow, that really is something else. I'm going to reload it just to watch it again. Here we go again.
It's so good. The engineers who did chucknorris.com. Oh, perfect. All right. Well, last podcast, I think we were talking about how we were watching Walker. It's on Peacock. It's on Hulu. And on Hulu, it's Square, right, Bob?
Yeah, I watched today's episode on that too.
And I thought I remembered when we had our interview with Ara Tamasian about remastering Walker for streaming. He did a widescreen version and a 4:3 version. So I decided to reach out to him about it. And he confirmed that, yeah, for whatever reason, Peacock is using his 16:9 version and Hulu is using the 4:3 version.
That's weird. So I got to pay for Peacock in order to get my full HD.
Yeah, 16:9 for a widescreen Walker. If you want that roundhouse kick to come out right into your living room.
If you want to see that boom mic in high def.
Exactly.
Exactly.
On the previous podcast, we were talking about this fan fiction, like printed fan fiction book that was on eBay, and Evan and I were bidding on it while we were talking on the podcast here. And
not just printed, but illustrated.
Yeah, the cover has this really weird, it kind of looks like a colored pencil drawing of Walker and Trevette staring into our eyes in front of a Texas flag. And this was like what people did before the internet, where you could put up your fan fiction. They actually did like fanzines and whatnot. And I got a notification that my offer was refused and it was sold. And Bob and I were like, Evan, you better have picked this up. Now, Evan, did you win this fanzine?
I did, but I'm looking at I'm exceedingly disappointed. The front cover art is attributed to H. Ann Walton. And then it says back cover provided by Ina Tower and Jeanette Hoffman. But there is no back cover illustration on this. Someone removed the back cover illustration.
It must have been a naked Walker.
It probably was. It was probably something like
a little racy, was it?
Something ridiculous. And we'll never know.
Evan, describe this to the listeners who didn't hear the last podcast. This has like how many different stories, and it has poems about Walker?
This is amazing. So this fanzine came out in 1998, but it goes through the season 4 episode. It has an episode guide for season 4, 5, and 6 in the back of it. There are full-on synopses here of episodes that we've done before. Okay, it's got Lucas part 1, part 2 in here. Wow. He's hoping to find the strength to tell Lucas he has AIDS. Wow. Incredible.
So he just blurts it out.
swan song in a Utah woodland, a trio of opportunists tails Alex Walker and 2 forest rangers to the remote site of a plane that crashed 8 years earlier, with $3 million in stolen loot on board. It doesn't mention anything about cannibals.
What?
Or the bear. Does it mention the bear?
No bear. Yeah. I mean, our recaps are a little bit better than that.
We go a little deeper.
Anyways, this is about 150 pages of fan written just amazingness here.
So, but usually fan fiction is like more like R-rated stuff because they can't do that on TV. So all like the unrequited love of Walker and Trevette or Gage and Sydney come out in these fan fictions that we've found online.
Here's the thing, though, like that's modern fan fiction. This was like early fan fiction.
Are you
right?
calling this art? Is this art, Evan?
Well, I will have a disclaimer here. Copyright 1998. July by Neon Rainbow Press. This scene is edited by Londa Pfeiffer and agented by Cinda Gillian and Jody Norman. Neon Rainbow Press. All rights revert back to the authors upon publication. This non-profit zine is not intended to infringe upon the rights held by anyone in connection to the show and is done solely for the enjoyment of the fans. This is for the enjoyment of the fans, so you are welcome, fans.
Evan, you ready to give us a little excerpt?
There is a mix of poetry in here, and I will open with a poem.
All right, I'm going to hit the music.
This poem is called... This poem is called In Your Eyes. It was written by H.A. Carmen.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. It was.
In your eyes I saw fire. In your eyes I saw ice. In your eyes I saw uncertainty. In your eyes I saw strength. In your eyes...
Music queued up so well.
I saw tenderness. In your eyes I saw fear. In your eyes I saw dignity. In your eyes I saw tears. In your eyes I saw laughter. In your eyes I saw teasing. In your eyes I saw understanding. In your eyes I saw love. In your eyes I saw our future.
Oh.
Alex, please open your eyes.
Wow.
Thank you, H.A. Carmen, for that.
Wow. Do you know what this is a copyright free music, whatever.
Oh, I thought you wrote that.
No, I didn't write
You
that.
put that together.
No, but you know what this copyright music track is called? Tenderness.
Yeah, okay,
In your eyes, I saw
I
it.
probably would have got there pretty quick.
Evan, you got another selection you want to go, or
So some of these are like they're like inserted scenes, or in this case, it's like an epilogue. This is
epilogues
like the
to Walker episodes that actually exist?
This is an epilogue to the return of LaRue.
Okay, which we did a podcast on.
So I've got a start point here if you want to. This is an excerpt from Dark Night of the Soul by Peggy Hartsook. By Peggy Hartsook. A soul-numbing chill went down her back, even thinking about the psychotic madman with his passions for opera. Alex and revenge. He'd come so close this time. He'd violated her apartment, destroying some of her most precious memories. He had stalked her at her work, at her home, and finally at Walker's home. She was afraid to close her eyes anymore. Whenever she did, she saw that ugly face with his shark, dead eyes leering over her. Eyes undressing her and hands moving to follow. Worst of all, she saw LaRue nearly killing Walker over and over again. Alex admitted to no one that in her nightmares, LaRue did kill Walker, and was moving to dispatch her when she awoke screaming. Cordell Walker was still hospitalized with his multiple scorpion bites, but Alex knew he'd be released very soon. She'd been brave when she'd visited him in the hospital that night, unwilling to admit She'd nearly succumbed to hysterics when he'd collapsed on her bed next to her after finally defeating Victor LaRue. It had been her only outing by herself since the ordeal, and she tried hard not to worry Walker about her fragile emotional state. Judging by the searching looks the Ranger had given her at the hospital, Alex had a feeling she had not fooled him at all.
Wow. Okay. Wow. All right. Well, so there might be some gold in those hills.
Yeah, I guess I got to dive deeper. I mean, it's hard to believe there's 150 pages without something that's
Yeah.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
there.
You better start earmarking that.
I will say there's an extra scene in here from Blown Apart
Okay.
Ooh.
with someone shouting, "Hey Walker." So
A little bit. Hey, Walker! Oh, amazing episode, Blown Apart. All right. Well, awesome. Well, let's move on here. Before we get into the episode Money Talks here, we just want to give a little shout out to William Randis, who bought a Chuck Norris action figure on our website and paid for a month of hosting for us. He got the one with Chuck without his shirt.
It's a good move.
probably a gift for a girlfriend.
Sure.
Mother's Day gift.
Speaking of which, Bridget Kolekka also picked up a Chuck Norris action figure since our last podcast, and she also paid for a month of hosting. So thank you guys so much for the support and everyone who's done that in the past. It really helps us fund ridiculousness like getting a fan fiction thing off eBay, that kind of thing. If that titillated you, more to come.
We've got a lot to get into here, so if you're watching along at home, hit that pause button if you don't want any spoilers. And please watch the episode Money Talks, Season 6, Episode 15. And if you're feeling particularly brave, come on back to us. Oh, welcome back. Let's dig into this beast. This episode originally aired on January 17th, 1998. And it opens on a pool party. And I kid you not, before I knew anything about this episode, when the car pulls up to this building and there's like a pool party going on, the only vibe I could think of was like Nakatomi Plaza from Die Hard. I wrote in Nakatomi Plaza into the notes before anything happened in this. It doesn't look anything like it really, but something about it just
Set the tone, right?
Yeah.
Set the tone.
There's like some guy in the pool and he's like talking to a girl in a red swimsuit and he's like, come in, the water's fine. And you're thinking like, what's going to happen here? How's this going to go wrong? Yeah. Right. You're like,
did you guys notice the Foley in that one? Where like he jumps in and there's like an enormous splash and then she jumps in and there's like no noise.
Yeah, there was some weird audio dubbing too, like guys talking over. It's like, that definitely wasn't that guy.
Come on in, the water's fine, babe.
So anyways, come to find out this is some sort of like resort, I guess, although it kind of looks like a combination of like an office building and a hospital, but it's a resort.
It's a super fancy resort that looks like you get a lot of work done there.
Oh, for sure. We see these people partying it up, living large, eating dinner, swimming, all that fun stuff. And meanwhile, we see an electrical panel and some gloved hands are putting a little wad of C4 with a light up activator
for remote detonation.
Absolutely. Anyways, the prop game on point. But anyways, they're putting these things in the electrical panel, and the head of security comes around and is like, "What are you doing here?" And they're like, "Well, just a phone line went out, and like, kill him."
Right. So, yeah. And so the guest star who we mentioned earlier, Mitch Peleggi, is directing one of his lackeys to put this explosive on the electric box. It sounded like his supervisor or the head of security accidentally discovers what he's doing and says, "Hey, you got to run this stuff by me. You can't just do this without talking to me. I'm head of security." And Mitch Peleggi's character is kind of like, "My bad. All good." And then somebody shoots him and takes him out, and he gone.
Pretty much bye-bye, Walt.
Yeah. Rest in peace.
It was good knowing you. Meanwhile, we zoom over to CD's Bar and Grill, and CD comes in. He's excited. He's coming out of retirement.
Well, wait, he retired to work at his bar? He's still working. He retired from the Rangers to open up CD's Bar and Grill. And I don't know if he's really working, but you don't really see too many other people working there except Mabel, who we only saw in a few episodes.
I think he ground her up and made her into chili.
Well, you got to have a good base for chili. Did you get the convoluted way with which he was going to be pulled out of work for 2 weeks? Because what? Can you explain this to me? What happened here?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I didn't really.
It's kind of irrelevant. I thought that he was friends with Walt.
So Walt got killed, and his friend is going to take over for Walt, but couldn't start his job for 2 weeks. And so CD said, "Oh, no problem. I'll go be head of security at this luxury resort for 2 weeks to cover for you." Maybe something like that, but they didn't spell it out that clearly.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, it's irrelevant.
It is irrelevant, but that's what usually is the funniest stuff. And it's like,
I think CD's buddy was going to take over in 2 weeks.
Okay, all right.
So
yeah,
the guy that was there that got shot, we don't know or really care about.
Oh yeah, he's telling Walker and Alex at CD's Bar and Grill, "Oh, this is going to be a cakewalk. It's all these rich people, and I'm going to be at this resort for 2 weeks, and it's going to be great. Will you guys miss me?" He says to the whole CD's Bar and Grill, and it's loaded with people, and they're like, "Get out of here, CD."
I think that's maybe more evidence of him not working at the bar.
Yeah, maybe they're like, "We'll actually get our drinks on time.
We would actually get alcohol."
Everyone hates me.
I always serve them prune juice.
It's a fruit juice and coffee. So CD pulls up to the security checkpoint before the resort, and I was hoping there'd be a bit more of this song throughout the episode, but it was just once.
No, it was in there twice.
Okay.
But let's pull up this track because we got to hear this on the pod.
It's juicy. It's juicy.
Okay, so here's CD. He tells Walker, "Hey guys, it's going to be a cakewalk," and then he's just going to go over to the rich estate where he's going to be working for 2 weeks as security for rich people. It's going to be a cakewalk.
Welcome to Golden Wells. May I help you, sir?
C.D. Parker, reporting for duty.
It is like that.
That's totally it.
Yeah, it is money, money, money.
Money talks.
But you can hear the talking heads in there too, right?
Oh, totally, yeah.
Oh, never mind, son. Never mind.
Welcome.
oh, never mind.
Wow. And then we go to the opening credits, and Money Talks there.
Outstanding.
Let's break that song down. I think you are right. I think it is. They're like, "Hey, like, middle of that song, money, money, money. We can't use that. Make a song kind of like that."
That was my feeling. Yeah.
And also, it's like talks, so talking heads, maybe. So that's and we're going to reach out to the songwriter here in Nashville and hopefully try to get him on the podcast to talk about it, because I am so curious about the process of and how much time they have to make these tracks too, and resources. So,
I mean, what do you think a place like that, a resort in the middle of Texas? So they've got an indoor pool and they've got golf.
So they can play golf in like 100-degrey heat.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's put a pin in that. We'll get back to that in a minute. All right.
Let's get rolling here. Let's get back on track.
Okay, so did we just get to the opening credits? Is that where we're at?
We sure did. Yeah. So CD arrives and he's learning the ropes with this ridiculous song, Money Talks. And then he meets Paul Grady, who's the corrupt second in charge security guy. And the music immediately turns tense. And as CD meets the murderous second in charge of security at Golden Wells Resort,
who we'll just call by the actor's name, Mitch Peleggi.
Yeah. So CD learns that the last guy apparently had a problem with the alcohol. It's like, yeah, I guess he just disappeared one day. So he actually goes and visits the sheriff office and introduces himself to the sheriff. And they hit it off because neither one of them thinks that alcohol had anything to do with it. So CD gets the missing persons report from Mitch. And old habits die hard, you know. Once a Texas Ranger, always a Texas Ranger.
Yeah, he was on the beat from the get-go.
Next comes a ridiculous montage where a small 10-year-old girl is skateboarding through the resort.
It was like a white digitization of a girl's feet on a skateboard, and then they showed other stuff going on, and then they got back to this digital thing, and we're like, what the hell is happening?
Yeah, it was very strange. But basically, CD saves this girl who's recklessly skateboarding around from getting hit by a car.
And there's our side plot, right?
Absolutely. Right. And the side plot is basically this girl, Kelly, and her extremely wealthy dad and his new girlfriend. You know, he's just throwing money at everything. And money can't buy you everything. And that's really CD's point he's just trying to hammer home here throughout the episode. And so throughout the episode, he becomes friends with Kelly, who's this girl who's frustrated with her dad.
I'd be happy if we never talked about that part of this story ever again, but we have to because that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
Moving on.
We'll gloss over as much as we can. Then CD goes and talks with the director, who drops the tantalizing tidbit that over the weekend, Benjamin Davis is going to be coming into the resort. So, big time. And he's spending $10,000 a night for a hotel room at this place to be in the elite circle of Fortune 500 families that are there. CD's all like, well, you know, I'm just going to stay out of their way. And I found that the best security guard is an invisible security guard. Then we finally see Walker again. Well, we don't see Walker, actually. We just hear him on the phone /overdubbed telling Alex that they're going to meet up for lunch at a place. And so on the way to lunch, Walker breaks up a jewelry heist, which is pretty...
Yeah, this is probably one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. These guys bust up this jewelry store, and then they run out the door, and the owner of the jewelry store just like runs out with a shotgun and just starts blasting away at the guys
into the public space.
Oh yeah, for sure.
The shotgun, and it was the classic Walker close up of like guys in ski masks smashing glass jewelry boxes in a jewelry store, and then they cut to some exterior shot that's somewhere totally different.
Oh yeah,
yeah. The bad guys run over to this little bridge that's over a river there, and the store owner's firing his shotgun into the public space, and all of a sudden we see the two bad guys jettisoned over the bridge into the river, and then a sick close up of Walker, like that's what happens.
They fell over the bridge right after one of the better punch sound effects I've heard. This one, I put a note
to get it isolated.
We're going to snip this. Yeah, right. We're going to snip it. I mean, we're not going to use that for the podcast. That'd probably be
illegal, would never
but
do that. I mean, you know what, Bob? There's only one thing I got to say about that.
Welcome to Golden Wells. May I help you, sir?
C.D. Parker, reporting for duty.
Oh!
Was that just some grunting like?
That was me, actually. We would never play anything from the show on this podcast.
Of course not. No. I mean, it looked a lot like the Riverwalk in San Antonio.
Yeah, it looked familiar.
I don't know why they'd be in San Antonio, but...
Was that from the episode with the boat vehicular transference?
Possibly.
Because that's what I thought of. Right?
Oh, right.
Remember the boat chase?
Well, so we're going to put this out there. Are there little canals in Dallas, like in San Antonio? People in Dallas and Fort Worth, let us know.
Okay, so Walker breaks up a jewelry heist and then has lunch with Alex. While he's having lunch with Alex... she gives him a hard time when she arrives because he breaks up the heist, which is like right next door to where they're having lunch. And she's like, are we ever going to have lunch where you don't have to arrest someone? And he's like, we'll see. And then she gets a call and he's like, don't you ever stop working? And she's like, actually, it's for you. And it's the commissioner. And he's like, yeah, they're going to be like a whole bunch of rich people this weekend at the Golden Wells, and
which just so happens to be the same resort that your best friend and mentor is away at this weekend. So a lot of rich people are going to be out there. We want you to go out there undercover and just watch. Keep an eye out for things to make sure everything goes smooth. We don't want, the people who work there to know that you're Texas Rangers. So see what you can do.
So yeah, the commissioner calls him. He's like, you got to get out there for all these rich people. You got to need a small strike team. And he gets out the phone. He's like, well, I got to go to the place where CD's at. We need a small strike team. Alex is like, you'd fit in a whole lot better if you brought your beautiful wife with you. And he's like, actually, that's a great idea. And
he didn't say that. He said, oh, man. And then there's a waitress walking by, younger than Alex.
Oh, that's right.
And he oogles her. He kind of goes, oh, who would I take, as he's watching her butt walk away. And Alex is like, oh, you dog walker.
And then she's like, money talks. So yeah, Walker and Alex, they check in, and meanwhile there's sort of like this weird montage. They're like, we have to fit all these details in, so let's just like cram them all into like a minute and 30 seconds. And so over this minute and 30 seconds, what do we see? We see CD and the sheriff investigating Walt's truck that's found out in the woods. Walker's there for some reason. They mention red clay on the tires. And Walker's like, you should focus your search for Walt's body within a 1,000-yard radius of this, which is like enormous, but okay. Anyways, they're doing that. Meanwhile, Grady is scoping out all the celebrities, or like the wealthy people, Fortune 500 people, with like a telephoto lens, really obviously in the daylight, not even obscured by a car. He's just taking photos of them. And then he notices on CD's truck that he's got the red clay. And so he knows that CD's been out looking at Walt's truck.
Did you guys notice that they had already made CD a custom parking sign? Because I picked up on that real quick.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
This guy's going to be here for 2 weeks. He just started. He made him a custom parking sign.
You would never do that.
That's the Golden Wells difference.
Oh, okay.
They're willing to spend that money.
They're going to go above and beyond.
For their employees, they go the extra mile. Shout out to a friend of podcast, Mike Rooney, who's all about Jeeps. CD Parker drives a Jeep. Let's put that in the record.
Classic mid-90s Grand Cherokee. So yeah, Grady's out there creeping around. And he's like, oh man, CD Parker he's getting too close. So meanwhile, CD is bonding with this girl, Kelly, and he's
the one he saved from the skateboard earlier.
Yeah, he's teaching her about the intangible things in life, the things money can't buy. And he tells her that her dad is just confused, and he's got to learn that money isn't going to solve all his problems, and he'll figure it out at some point.
Yeah, she just wants to play tennis with her dad, and her dad just wants to hang out with his new side piece that's not her mom at this resort. And she's like some supermodel, and this guy's like pushing 70 years old. And his daughter, how old is she?
I don't know,
like 8.
I think she's like 10. Yeah,
most. This is a story I didn't want to talk about, guys.
So, Bob, what do you think about this?
I hate this story so much. I think it's just child actors in general.
I thought she was pretty good.
She was pretty terrible.
Oh, wow, man.
Well, okay, let's get to something interesting here. This is another sort of fourth wall break in Walker, right? So we get Alex and Walker. They're gonna go to dinner, and Alex is like, "We're at that point again. It's just like with the river and with the mountain. Day one, everything's looking great." And she's like, then everything goes wrong. And Walker's like, oh, you mean like the calm before the storm? And she's like, yeah, what's going to go wrong this time? All right. So that's kind of like, a fair amount of self-awareness for this episode, I would say.
They usually don't reference anything that's ever happened before. So
no.
It's kind of, that is, unique.
So
they show up as not themselves, right?
Yeah, they show up undercover, and we're questioning if they clued CD in on it. And Walker and Alex don't run into CD yet, and then Trevette pulls up in a long stretch limo, gets out, and then we realize, oh yeah, CD must be in on them being there undercover because he doesn't say anything.
Oh yeah, for sure. Trevette shows up as James Vandervet, and he's all like trying to be all fancy, and he was a last minute ad. And the director comes out and it's like, oh, this is C.D. Parker. He's our director of security, and he can make sure everything goes right. And Trevette's like, yeah, sure. Just make sure my luggage gets to the room. And then he starts peeling off hundreds from a wad of cash, and then he finds the $1 bill and gives it to him.
Yeah.
Pretty sweet move.
And she's like, $1, what a cheapskate.
CD needs to learn there's some things that money won't fix.
Oh,
yeah.
See what you did there.
Basically now that they're undercover, they decide to sort of borderline break their cover by just hanging out together all the time. So Walker and Alex meet up with Trevette, and they're like, okay, so what's the plan here? Oh, what's going down? Oh, who's that over there? Oh, he's a rich guy. Okay, cool.
Oh yeah. By the way, let's pretend that we're in our cover. We'll use our aliases. We'll sit down where everybody
the same
else
first
is.
names.
Yeah, but they we'll pretend like we're these different business people and talk like that. But break out the top secret dossier and let's go over that here right now too. But in character.
Right. Do you have blueprints for the place too? Because we'll just lay those out on the table.
Exactly. And it's like, wait, what? You guys got to keep it. You got to keep your hand to the table. You know what I'm saying? Come on, guys.
Oh yeah. Anyways, Trevette gets bored with the plans. Anyways, he's like, "Whoa, that dude's like super loaded. I got to go hang out with him."
Yeah, I'd rather hang out with. He's like, I know how much you make, Walker, and I'm gonna go hang out with that guy. Another sick burn. Trevette's on it.
Yeah. And so Trevette, he befriends the high rollers, and they're out golfing, and their party of three becomes a party of four when Benjamin Davis, who is basically like he's like Steve Jobs, or he's like Bill Gates, right? He like never comes out into public.
Yeah, like a Mark Zuckerberg even.
Oh, yeah. No doubt.
Anywho, this guy comes out golfing, and they're playing $1,000 a round game of golf, or $1,000 a whole game of golf.
Trevette doesn't know that though. Trevette just happened to get on this golf team. He said he's with some company he made up the name for and whatever. They're like, yeah, man, well, let's do what we did last time, $1,000. And Trevette's like, per game, or
he's starting to hit the driver, right? He's like, oh, $1,000 a game. All right, that's good. And right as he's about to hit the ball, they go, oh, per hole. And he shanks it right into the woods. And you hear like glass breaking.
Right. And it's like Trevette on a Ranger's salary is going to be, losing $1,000 a hole on this golf game.
I assume that this is all part of the commissioner's plan, and that they've all gotten money to play their roles.
So that's what I'm asking. Like the money that he tipped CD, that $1, the taxpayers paid for that $1 that he tipped CD.
Yeah, he's got to put in an expense report, but yeah.
He's like, I was just trying to show, I had to tip him.
He's got to sign an affidavit too, because he didn't get a receipt.
And do you think CD was such a Texas Ranger that he returned that $1 afterwards?
Yes. Actually, no. He used that in the vending machine. You know it.
Exactly.
He ate that one.
That thing was gone. That thing was gone the second he got in his pocket.
he got a roll of Werther's Originals.
Okay, so Trevette really wasn't out the money. The state probably paid for that.
I think so, for sure.
But this was like the comic relief stuff in this episode that was kind of
the tone was off. There were two tones. It was like
there was weird music playing, like it was like goofy music. The whole
it was some weird.
We'll get into that in the review, but not even that. It was way worse than that.
So yeah, he's Trevette basically befriends this guy, this tech mogul, and he learns that the big party over the weekend is actually an anniversary party for him. And Trevette gets invited, and Trevette's like, well, that's all great, but I told my two friends that I'd be having dinner with them that night. He's like, well, they're invited too. So this is how Trevette, Walker, and Alex, they all get invited to the party. That's big detail there.
And it just proves it's all who you know. And sometimes it doesn't come down to money. That's all I'm saying. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. All right. So meanwhile, Grady, the second in charge of security, the bad guy, he's all like, CD's getting way too close. He's got this confidential file on Walt, the last security head, and this is not good. So we got to take CD out here. So he calls his cronies. And I should say, in that earlier montage, which was really disjointed and weird, the minute and a half of just 5-second clips of things happening. One of the clips was just of a bunch of guys in camo in like a building somewhere loading up Uzis
and semi-automatic weapons into like crates.
Yeah. We never really got an explanation for that one.
None needed.
That is entirely reminiscent of what is it? Die Hard 2 in the airport when the guys in the camo are loading up. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, why they're in camo?
In the church.
No, doesn't matter.
In the church, yeah. So he calls them on. They're like, it's time to take out this ranger. And so CD's having a bonding moment with Kelly, the little girl, at a piano when he's called away to go check out something that's happening in a utility shed.
Mitch Peleggi, second in command to CD, says, hey, man, there was a break-in at the utility shed. You got to go check it out, man. And CD's like, okay. But Walker and Alex are like standing around the corner, I guess at the hotel bar, and they're like, that looked a little fishy.
Like, I wonder what that's all about.
Right. So CD goes over to the utility shed, and he's like all by himself. I mean, he should know better. And he walks by like a tractor, and he's looking around, and then he gets conked on the back of the head, and he falls to the ground in epic fashion.
All right, for sure. Big, insane close-up of CD's face. And the guy's like, man, you should have stayed in your lane, old man. And he's like, now you're going to die. And then Walker comes in and kicks the gun out of his hand.
They get a good little fight in, a good little skirmish, and then Walker gets around the bend, and the guy pulls a gun on Walker, a second gun from his boot, and tries to shoot Walker, but Walker pulls the other guy's gun and shoots him first, and he gone.
Well, doesn't just shoot him first. There's a classic side dive.
Yeah, he Seagulls it. That's a Steven Seagal.
He Seagulls it. And he gets him twice. Of course, the other guy misses.
Yeah, obviously. Moving target.
Thank you for breaking that down. Yeah, it was ridiculous. And Walker took him out, but only after he was shot at first.
Of course.
Right, of course.
Yes. While this is all going down, Trevette's riding around with Bill Gates and giving him tips on his company and how he should, encourage people's confidence in his business by being more.
For the benefit of his stock price, Trevette's like, hey, look, you're such a recluse, and people are like,
people facing. Is what we say.
Exactly. Yeah. He's telling them all this stuff, and this is the through line kind of for Walker. Trevette's always talking about like investments and all this stuff throughout the whole series.
He's got his finger in the pulse.
Yeah.
And he tells Bill Gates, and you also need a website. How about Microsoft.com? You should do that.
I know. And the guy's like,
how about Angel Fire?
The guy's like, actually, that's like a really good idea.
Oh my God. He's like, would you like to come to dinner with us? Yeah. He's like, oh my God, Trevette.
Is this a scene? They're in the golf cart, right? And then
and then they drive into the pond, and it's funny.
And they just careen right into the drink.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we see the girl Kelly again, trying to get her dad to play tennis with her, and he just tells the hired help to go play tennis with her. Walker and Alex are looking on and being real judgy. The director basically calls, and he's all like, "It's going down. It's got to happen tonight. That's the anniversary party. This is when we get them." And that's when we realize that the director's in on this heist as well.
Right. At the whole head of the resort, we weren't sure.
Yep. So the strike team's on the move. They're loading up their Uzis. They're all wearing camo because sure, why not? And they pack into.
No one can see them.
Yeah, like 20 people pack into 2 vehicles and drive off. Right. It's like a clown car of dudes in camo.
And we haven't really even broken down what the whole plot of this is. Like, I don't think if anyone was listening to this, they would even understand what's happening.
We'll get there. So the idea when they put the C4 at the beginning, and I realized we didn't actually talk about this. We were too busy talking about the props. But they're like, oh, once these go off, everyone in there will be sitting ducks. There's no way for them to communicate to the outside world.
There's no cell phones. I think they had blockers on like anything if people did have cell phones. And there's no way to communicate once electricity's out and all this stuff. And that's what the C4 was for at the beginning of the episode. So now it's game time. This is the anniversary dinner. All the rich people are going to be there. And the head of the resort calls in Mitch Peleggi CD's second in command, who's the bad guy, to call in his people in fatigues and machine guns to come on in. It's game time.
So this party is pretty dope. I just want to say the level of MIDI saxophone going on is stellar.
There was like a jazz band playing in there.
Remember at the very beginning, they were in the same room and they had some jazz playing. And that was like a little more realistic. I thought that was like, okay, bad jazz, but it's still good. But yeah, this had the MIDI, the keyboard sax was oof, with the vibrato or the mod wheel up and
Epic.
the pitch bend. Ugh.
So good. Anyways, that bliss gets broken up pretty quickly. Kelly, the girl, is she's acting up still, but who cares? She orders a vodka and orange juice.
And CD's like, I don't think so, little darling.
He's like, make that just an orange juice. He's like, you'll have plenty of time to party when you're older.
He's like, look at me.
Meanwhile, the director's all like, okay, it's going down. Everyone's here.
All the rich people are at the dinner.
And he's got the head count, right? So he knows when everyone's there. But remember, he doesn't know that Walker and Alex were invited.
Right. And here's the crux of this episode. The whole outcome of this episode rests on the fact that women take a long time to get ready.
Absolutely. So they're supposed to be at this party. The party is supposed to start at 8, but it's 8:15, and Walker is still waiting for Alex to get ready. And he receives a call from CD and Trevette.
And they think it's going down that night, so they're kind of ready for something to go down. But they're like, dude, when you're ready for something to go down, you want Walker to be there.
Right. And while they're talking on the phone, the bomb goes off and the phone line goes out. And Walker's like, Alex, I know you just got ready, but stay here. Something's going down.
Right.
And at this point, we now know Walker's on the outside looking in.
And it is a very diehard situation.
But also very Walker.
And he's in a tux.
Yeah.
It's kind of James Bond. It's kind of like a diehard James Bond situation.
Right. So these guys in camo bust into the room. And did you guys see the dude with the ridiculous beard?
Did you see the guy with the eye patch?
I missed the eye patch.
I missed both of those.
I saw a few beards because I remember when they first came in, there was like a paint-on beard.
It looks like
talking about?
It looks like he's wearing a black bandana, but it's not. It's a beard.
These are the bad guys undercover, or
no? It's the bad guys in camo that all bust in.
Yeah, one of them definitely had an eye patch.
I missed the eye patch, Bob. That's too bad.
So yeah, the bad guys in fatigues bust into this upper crust rich person party. And Mitch Peleggi, the second in command to CD, is also in fatigues, and he just blows his cover to CD.
It's like his coming out party. He's like kind of embarrassed, but also he's like, yeah, I know, I'm just going to beat some people up.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, I've actually been the ringleader of this thing that, here's the deal. Everybody get to the ground or else we'll kill you. And we just blew out the electricity, so there's no phones. And here are a few sat phones. And on the back of these sat phones is a routing number. Each one of you is going to route $10 million to this the number on the back of this satellite phone. And if you don't, you're dead. Time's starting now. And he actually clicks like a stopwatch.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then CD says something to him, and they just sack CD in the face.
I mean, that's kind of what CD does when he's in action. He might get one or two punches in if he's lucky, but usually someone just like punches him in the gut and he's out.
We're in it for the one-liners from CD.
So Walker, meanwhile, is just taking dudes out. He takes a dude around in the stairwell, and then he uses his bow tie as handcuffs.
Yeah, like he takes this guy out, and then like he takes off his bow tie. I think it's to get a little aeration from his shirt because he's going to be kicking a lot of butt.
And, Walker's just kind of sneaking around, taking a whole bunch of people out. So, we sort of intermittently see scenes inside the hostage room where he's forcing people to do stuff and just punching people in the face, threatening people. And then we see Walker kicking butt. He takes some dudes out by the pool.
He releases some hostages. He saves them by kicking the bad guy's butt. And he takes their guns and throws them in the pool. And
Sure.
And then he goes to the people who are being held hostage. Yeah, take your neckties and tie their hands.
Yeah, and those guys are like tying it. I'm like, those guys don't know how to tie these guys up.
No, but did you hear them? And they're like, gladly. So did you hear them? They're like, my pleasure.
Yeah. I will tie this square knot. It's like, no, what?
This guy's beard is super strange. I'll definitely tie him up.
This guy has an eye patch.
Oh my God.
So meanwhile, Alex, she's not listening to what Walker said, and it's good that she didn't,
right?
Because she was actually able to sneak out and get away in a car, which is pretty badass because some dude was shooting at her, and she's going to get help.
Right, she's getting the cavalry.
Clutch.
Okay, so it all comes back to the girl here, okay? Because
oh God,
I know. So it comes down to the bad guy's like, Bill Gates just paid up 10 grand, but some of you haven't done it. And the guy who's the father of the daughter who he's been neglecting hasn't paid yet. And for whatever reason, the bad guy like slaps the girl, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, then her dad gets all up in his face and he hits him too.
And he's like, I actually do care about this girl. Don't kill her. You know, if you do anything to her, I'm not giving you any money. And then there's this whole big thing, and he's like, well, if you don't give me money, you're both going to die. And then finally, we see this hand go to the power switch, and he
lights out. Superpowers.
Lights out. And then that's like just like the signal for Trevette and CD to wreck house.
Pretty much.
And they do.
Yeah. Do you guys see? You guys see how the Bill Gates character? He's like, oh, I'm gonna get a punch in too, and then he just gets like slapped.
He just gets socked out immediately. Yeah, that was a nice touch. I like that.
This is Ranger business. Don't try to participate, please.
Right. But then like Trevette, everyone thinks he's like a rich mogul there, and he's kicking ass. So at the end, after he's kind of cleaned up everybody, all the millionaires are like, yeah, Trevette, you're one of us and you kicked ass.
Yeah, wow.
That was awesome. And main bad guy Grady, he runs away with the little girl as his hostage, and Walker pursues amidst a hail of gunfire. And the guy's about to hijack a car, but Walker is able to intercept before they get away. And they have a showdown, lots of roundhouse kicks. Did you guys notice a CD? He comes and gets the girl out of the car and he's like, come on, let's go. But then they just run like 10 feet away from the car, stand in the middle of the road and watch Walker beat the guy up.
I'm glad you brought this up because he has this little girl that he just rescued, and he's like, he turns her around and makes her watch Walker kicks the guy's ass.
He's like, actually, you know what? You should watch this.
Which he was 100% right.
The final fight was pretty decent.
It was, yeah. Mitch Peleggi versus Walker. He took a lot of hits.
Walker takes the main baddie out, and then the father comes running in, and he's like, "Oh, I thought I'd lost you," and she's like, "I thought I lost you too, Daddy."
Yeah,
like overdub, really. Like
all it took was me almost being murdered by people trying to take your money.
I know. Oh my goodness. And then the cavalry all arrives, all the cops arrive that Alex got, and Alex is like, "Oh, Walker, are you okay?" And he's like, "Oh, you look gorgeous."
And she's like, "You finally noticed, Walker."
I know. What a rapport they have, though, right?
I mean, it was like role playing the whole episode for them.
The guy who ran the resort was like, "Oh, get all these guys out of here." Like thinking he had got away with it. Right. And then Walker's like, "Arrest this guy." And he just kind of like slumps his shoulders and like walks away.
And you know, Bob, I was thinking the same thing too. But there was only one cutaway scene that proved that he was in on the thing.
Right. I wasn't even sure. When he said that, I was like, "Oh, yeah, no." How did Walker know?
Yeah, that's the question. And I think at one point someone said he's in on it too, but I don't know how they would have known.
It was just Walker's sense knowing. Walker knows everything. Walker knows all. So
everyone's getting ready to leave the next morning, and this is the other question. So they all stayed the night there?
I mean, wouldn't you?
Of course, yeah.
Everyone's still there.
Nice. Imagine that with the bottles that were popped that night.
Yeah, continental breakfast next morning too.
On the state of Texas.
All right, so the next morning, after everyone stayed the night there, after they were held hostage at gunpoint, and are now. They didn't resolve the $10 million thing either. Like once you wire that money to a foreign account,
well, the account is on the back of the phones that they now have.
I don't know. Meanwhile, Trevette, he's on the phone with his stockbroker, and he's all like, you got to buy in this stock because he's gonna, start being more
Bill
public
Gates'
facing.
company is going to go big because he's going to actually go out now, and he's going to be, the face of the brand, and he's going to do the website thing I told him about, Microsoft.com. He's going to do all that stuff. So he calls this guy, and Walker's like, no, man, I'm not following your advice because you burned me multiple times.
Walker's all like, don't you know I have 10-gallon buckets full of Chuck Norris commemorative gold coins buried in my backyard?
Right.
Yeah.
It's the only stable currency.
And there's one episode where Trevette actually loses Walker's whole retirement savings on an investment scheme like this.
Again, we figured out that he's probably got buckets of gold in the backyard.
Yeah, that's a sure bet. So then he calls his broker and says, he's like, put all my money into this company, the Microsoft, whatever it is, put all my money into this, man. It's a sure bet. Do it now. Hangs up the phone.
Then the Bill Gates guy, he comes out and he's talking to his wife. He's like, I'm never going out in public again.
Well, this is the classic Trevette burn at the end of the episode.
Well, yeah. Well, also, though, like, this is the John McClane harken back to Die Hard, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because that's his justification.
Yeah,
come on down to the coast, have a few laughs.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So the Bill Gates is like, you said, come on down, we'll have a party, have a great time, but I'm never going out in public again.
Well, that's understandable. And Tourette's like, he calls this guy back, and we hear him as they fade out at the end of the episode, and Walker and Alex are laughing. Oh, hey, did you sell that stuff? No! And then end of the episode, fade to black.
Awesome. Well, that sums up this episode. When we come back, it'll be time for us each to rate Money Talks on a scale of 0 to 10 boots to the face. Should be interesting, resulting in our patented Roundhouse Roulette episode ranking. Complete results of which are available on our website, roundhouseroulette.com. Don't go away.
Everybody on the ground now.
Dude, it's just me and Evan.
You heard what I said. Don't bother calling for help. Your cell phones won't work here.
He's right. He must be using a mobile jammer.
I've been waiting for this moment all my life. I don't even like Walker, Texas Ranger.
What?
Take these satellite phones and start calling our listeners. Have them wire funds to this Cayman Island bank account. If there isn't $1 million in there by the end of this podcast, then you die.
Man, dude, talk about a long con.
Seriously, we're just trying to deliver the light of Walker, Texas Ranger to the world.
Podcast listeners, if you'd like to help us in that mission and out of this unfortunate predicament, please share the pod with a friend or leave us a kind review on Apple Podcasts. It truly helps other Walkerites find the cast.
And if you're feeling extra generous, join us on Patreon or pick up a vintage action figure at roundhouseroulette.com. Yeah, I also mean transfer $1 million to routing number.
Yeah, that's a good boy.
Wait a minute, Evan. He's just stalling. He doesn't need us to transfer money. He's stealing money from our listeners as they listen to this podcast. The longer they listen, the more money is being drained from their bank accounts.
Wow. Holy moly, the longer we talk, the more money he gets.
Money talks, boys.
Our only way out is to end this as fast as possible.
Well, let's get back to that podcast. Welcome back. What do we think of this one, guys?
Guys, I'm giving this one a 2.
Wow.
All right.
Dang.
All right, Bob.
Okay.
Bob, it's up to you.
What do you mean? That's it? That's all you're going to say?
It.
I'm just giving it a 2?
I'm out.
I mean, I had written down 3. It just wasn't like a Walker episode, right? I mean, this is like
Bizarro world kind of situation a little bit. Yeah.
Some weird thing. Like, and there was a bunch of stuff like, I don't mean to pick it apart, like because
that's our job, right?
Well, but it wasn't really good. So like, I don't want to dig into things, but like some things that I noted was like when CD was supposed to be killed and he wasn't, why didn't anyone like notice? Like, why didn't the bad guy be like, oh,
exactly.
Wait,
yeah. Yeah.
There was so much stuff
because I was
that,
thinking of that when it happened. Okay, so how are they going to fool him that their guy didn't get CD? They didn't even bring that up.
I don't know if it could have been any better. Maybe it just had to suck. It was doomed to suck.
I mean, this one definitely had a different vibe from the other ones. I mean, most Walker episodes, they're so jam-packed because they're full of every little detail. Like, it's an action movie, like a 3-hour or a 2-hour action movie crammed into like 40 minutes, right? But this one, like, something about it, like even that first fight, quote unquote fight with Walker, he just like kicked a couple guys off a bridge, but it all happened off camera, which is very off brand for Walker, right? Like that's sort of a kind of goofy kind of gimmick type thing you maybe see.
I feel like they were trying to give Noble Willingham his feature as CD Parker, and I think they shortchanged him.
That had nothing to do with CD. He got pistol whipped and then like gut punched. He did very little,
dude. I would love to see them go all in on just a CD episode and it be badass.
There's the one where he
well, the old folks home is good, but also with the chamomile tea, with the grandma who gets drugged with the LSD in her tea.
Yeah, there's that one.
That one is way better than this one. Nothing like that happened in this episode. So Evan, what do you got? Where do you come down on this, Evan? Bob and I are waiting with bated breath here. Let's hear.
So yeah, I mean, CD got sidelined big time, and the side story of the little girl and her father, like that was pretty like.
Can you
not
relate?
Worth it as a father? No, I have no money.
Here's some Walker dollars.
Yeah. I mean, gold coins for sure. I will say, when Walker was in the episode, his fight scenes were on point. Like
breaking the stats here.
We're talking 3 fights and 9 roundhouse kicks. Like roundhouse kicks through the roof here. Also, we had sweet explosion of the electrical panel. But
not sweet. That was not sweet.
I know.
It was an explosion.
I know. Okay, yeah. So the other detail is that one of the bombs on the electrical panel had a timer on it, and the other one had a remote control. Like, what are they timing it from? Who set the timer? Did you set it like weeks ago?
Like 5 seconds later. Yeah,
right.
It just happened to be the right time to blow up.
I know.
Well, it looks cool.
There are definitely some plot holes, but like Walker's action was pretty decent. That said, like it was a pretty dumb episode. If we gave us an average of like 2 or 3, this episode would be like one of the worst episodes we've ever seen, and it's not. I don't know. I'm going to give it a 4.
You're playing to the curve.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, sometimes you got to.
Well, I mean, it had cheesy stuff in it.
Not cheesy enough. No.
The music gives it a point.
Oh, for sure.
The music was
for sure. And then Walker's fights were sick.
Welcome to Golden Wells. May I help you, sir?
CD Parker, reporting for duty.
This is a real wing desert. Boy, this place will hold a lot of hay.
Excuse me?
Excuse me? It's like he was offended. Excuse me? What did you just say to me?
He's just like laughing at him, like, what? Yeah, I mean, CD's on point. I mean, he gets his butt whooped, but he does in every episode. He's in any action. So, I mean, yeah, it's definitely not as bad as you guys are billing it.
Okay, man. I don't know,
but you know, like, I'm happy with the 4. Walker's action was sweet, and then the music is ridiculous. So that gives this episode a round us rating of 3 boots to the face. And I think we can all agree that money talks. But let us know what you think on social media or by emailing us at roundusroulette@gmail.com. And when we come back, we'll spin that roulette wheel, select our next episode. Then we're back. Bob, you ready to spin that thing?
You know it, buddy.
Wow.
Season 2. It's a 2-parter. Episodes 22 and 23. Deadly Reunion, Part 1 and 2.
A legendary Texas Ranger makes a rare appearance when he returns to seek justice for those responsible for his murdered son. Walker and Trevette use the opportunity to ask the man's help with their investigation of a planned assassination of a senator. Okay, so this could be good.
So it's going to be like, is he a bad guy or is he a good guy? We don't know. All right, well, we hope you join us next time when we share our reactions to the first part of Reunion. In the meantime, share your opinions with us on Facebook and Instagram at Roundhouse Roulette and on Twitter at Roundhouse Pod. And please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening, and until next time,
may the eyes of the Ranger be upon you.
When you're in Texas, look behind you. Oh, 'cause that's where the Ranger's gonna be.
Welcome to Golden Wells. May I help you, sir?
C.D. Parker, reporting for duty. This is a real wing desert. Boy, this place will hold a lot of hay.
Excuse me?
Oh, never mind, son. Never mind.
Welcome to Golden Wells. Are you checking in?
I'm reporting for duty.